Kylie, presentation is really going in. Yes. I'm so sweaty. Because I sat next to you. That was me doing yours. I'm like, I don't know what to ask her. I know every facet of this.
Alrighty, hello everyone. Thank you so much for attending my presentation. My presentation is about creating zines to reconnect with our humanity. My name is Addison Dragon, and zines are something that have been a really important part of my young adult life. So first off, what is a zine? For those who don't know, I have a bunch here that I will let you all take. It's a mini magazine. So you just cut off the first part, you just end up with zine. Some people think it's pronounced zine because English language. You're allowed to call it that, you have free will, but, but it is technically a mini magazine. So the first part of my presentation is going to be a personal story about how I discovered zines in my life, and then the last half of my presentation will be what positive zines can bring to your life. So I first moved to Cedar City over 3 years ago, close to 4, and it was an excellent opportunity for self-discovery. I had never lived on my own before. I had never been in a town where people hadn't known me in school or in my childhood. So I was given the opportunity to be whoever I wanted, to discover who I could be and try being whoever I wanted. I would meet new people, they'd ask me who I was, what I liked, what I was all about. And it was a great, refreshing start to my young adult life. And then, one day that would change the course of my life forever was when a friend of mine invited me to a zine workshop that was happening here in the Cedar City Library. It was being run by my good friend named Ransom, and he taught me and a bunch of other people all about zines, the history of zines, how to make zines, and had a whole bunch of art supplies for everyone to use, including tons of books and magazines to cut up, all these markers, crayons, stickers, anything you can imagine, any kind of art supply. And it was magical. It was a brand new hobby that I could adapt into my life that combined things that I already loved. I loved drawing, I loved art, I loved writing, I loved comics, and this was something that could encapsulate all of those things. And I also made really good friends in that workshop that I still have in my life today. And then came the mental turmoil. So living on my own and discovering who I was came at the price of really digging deeper into myself and discovering things that I had not known. I would soon become diagnosed with anxiety, depression, autism, PTSD, and scrupulosity OCD, because why not? All of those things combined were a lot to deal with inside my own head. And sometimes you just can't keep everything in your head. You need an outlet to get it out of there. So that's what zines became for me, a way for me to capture everything that was inside my head, get it out there, be able to look at it, and be able to share it with others in order to explain myself to my friends when I felt like just saying, oh man, I'm going through it, wasn't enough. Zines were a wonderful way to learn more about my friends, for my friends to learn more about me, for me to have a place I could write everything down and then choose whether or not to share it. I could always retract it, hide it, look at it later, go back and revise it. There was no pressure. And that was the wonderful thing about zines, was the feeling of no pressure. You can just write it down and then do what you want with it. So now I would like to talk about all of the wonderful things about zines. Firstly being They are super accessible. You can create zines with any art supply you can imagine. You can draw them digitally if you're a digital artist. You can draw them using random things you find in a drawer at work, which is what this picture is. You can, maybe steal some copy paper from the printer when you're at work, and other such things. Zines can be created with any tool that you're used to. Do you like watercolors? You can make one with watercolor. Do you like markers? Do you like stamps? Do you like stickers? Absolutely anything. It can be as cheap as possible too. It doesn't have to be an expensive hobby. Zines can also be about any genre. I know that earlier I mentioned in my personal experience, I started making zines based off of my feelings, and they were kind of like a way of journaling. But zines can also be super fun and not serious at all. So up here I have a zine that I worked on with over 50 other artists, all about a silly little video game we liked. It was really cool to be able to work on something that we were all fans of and have a physical printed book at the end of the day with all of our work that I get to keep and look back at forever. This right here is a zine I personally made as a tribute to one of my favorite music artists, a compilation of all of my favorite lyrics of his. And then the one on the right was actually a school project I did where we were supposed to make a how-to zine, and I made it on how to survive the back rooms, a very silly internet urban legend. Zines can also be a great way of spreading information. I also like to make zines about the things that I like to teach people about, a way of info dumping at people, if you will, a great way to hand them out and already have it ready to go, like, oh, you want to know more about this topic? Here you go. Zines can also be a great way for comics. I love comics. I've loved comics ever since I was a kid. And the opportunity to have a little format where you can create a little comic and hand it to people, I love it so much. The zine up there on the right is not created by me. I actually found it online by a really cool artist who put up the PDF for free for anyone to print out. And the accessibility of that is incredible and amazing and very generous. Say you're not the most artistic person ever. Zines don't have to have art in them. You can make a zine that is entirely words, just like I have right here. Or let's say you're not the best writer ever. You can make a zine that is entirely pictures, like I have right there. Zines are truly so individual. Another great thing about zines is that they are so different from the way that we access a lot of our art today. I see a lot of art on Instagram all the time, and maybe I'll look at it for 2 seconds and go, wow, really cool, and I scroll on. And then I see an artwork someone spent like 500 hours of their life working on, and then I scroll on, and then I never go back. And that's something that as an artist really kind of hurts my soul, because how often do you see something really cool online and then think to ever go back to it and look at it again? Most people really don't. The way of the digital world is so quick, so fleeting, it grabs your attention, but it never keeps it. It always pushes you to the next thing. So, the great thing about zines is it makes you pause and stay in reality for a little bit and appreciate the thing that you're holding in your hand that another person has made. You can take a moment with it. You can appreciate the craftsmanship of it. And you get to keep it. You can keep it on your shelf, you can keep it in a little box, and then you can return to it later, and it's not just lost to the digital void. And lastly, another wonderful thing about zines, like I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, is that they allow you to dig deeper into yourself. Have a moment with yourself, which is kind of hard nowadays when the world is full of so much noise, the constant videos and music and all sorts of things dying for your attention, filling your head full of noise. You never really stop to think about yourself and your own feelings and actually process those. And so I think that's a wonderful thing that zines can help you stop and do, is to spend a moment with yourself. Are there any questions? And also, I'd like to pass these out to you guys.
Addison,
Yes.
we have a zine library, but the door's down. Does it contain your zines?
There are several of mine in there, yes. I have submitted some of my zines to our cool little zine library in the resource room.
And I guess my other question is do you have zines that are for printed? Or
I'm not currently selling any zines. I'm happy to give away my zines for free. A hobby of mine is to just randomly print them whenever I'm at the library and put them in random places around town or around campus. I do have friends who sell their zines sometimes, like at the farmer's market and such, but I've personally never sold them. I just am happy if anyone accepts them, really. Yes?
It seems like a lot of what you enjoy about zines too is the ability to go back and look at them over time. How do you store the zines that you have?
Ooh, great question. I have this little tin box that used to have cookies in it, you know, one of those. And I keep all of my zines in there, and I like try to organize it in rows like, oh, this is by this person, this is by this person, this is by, I have no idea. You know, all these little, I have my little organization of them, and I keep them all, and I do love to go back and be like, oh, I remember when so-and-so gave this to me. Wow, that was forever ago, and things like that. Yes.
Do you have a favorite one, either that somebody has made for you or that you've made yourself?
Ooh, great question. The one I showed where I worked on it with over 50 other artists is fantastic to me. It was life-changing. I actually helped work on that before my move to Cedar City. So I think that one is the most incredible to me simply because there's so much artwork in it from artists that I got to know personally online, you know, in a group chat, or artists who I'd been following forever, and now I got to work on something with them. That was just really magical. Yes?
Aside from the medium or size, if you're comparing it to like a graphic novel or a digital zine, what would you say is maybe the one largest differentiating thing between the two things? And,
Okay, yeah.
Can I add one more?
Well, I'll answer your first
Okay.
question and I can ask the second one. So the difference between a zine and maybe like a graphic novel you'd find at the library is that a big part of zines is that they are self-published. You don't have to go through a publisher, you don't have to throw your pitches out and be like, please print my thing, please print my thing. You can print them yourself. You can print them at any size, at any format. You do it yourself. You don't have to rely on some company to give you approval. And your second question?
If you wanted to make that into a digital zine, what would be generally the most important things you would have to overcome or whatever?
Yes, so I do that pretty frequently when I create zines physically and I want to digitize them. I usually make zines using regular size printer paper. We have scanners here in the building or at the library, so I would scan that paper. And the most important thing would be to get your sizing right. So I would pop that scan into Photoshop and mess around with it, make sure, you know, every rectangle doesn't overlap with the other rectangle and get cut off. I have to keep in mind margins and things. So I use guidelines to make sure that nothing would get cut off if I were to print it again, and everything would print well from the printer. I hope that answers your question.
It does, thank you.
Yes.
What's the oldest zine that you personally have?
The very first zine I ever made, I wish I put it into the presentation, I meant to, was when I went to the zine workshop for the very first time. I just used regular printer paper and I used a pencil, and I made a little comic about a memory I had from my childhood that I then shared with other people. Yes?
I just want to start by saying this was a really wonderful showcase of storytelling. Your presentation was really thought through, and I think that we could all feel your passion, so
Thank
that
you.
was really meaningful to me. And as designers, we're storytellers, right? So I think that this was a really wonderful way to kind of give this presentation. And you talk about a lot about accessibility and not just financial, but just access to information, which I really appreciate. Zines are kind of like the OG networking, right?
100%.
So how do you see this practice infiltrating your practice as a designer as you leave school? You know, like if you go into an industry role, how are you going to make zines meaningful to you and your
went on the recent Nashville trip, I was actually stricken with inspiration because on the Nashville trip, I packed my pockets full of zines. I wanted to hand out in little places in Nashville for fun because, whoa, it's not just gonna be in Utah, I can put some in Nashville. And that's when I thought, I'm meeting all these cool people like designers and stuff. I don't have a business card. What if I made a zine that acted as my business card? That is my next project I am working on, is a zine that maybe highlights a few of my favorite things from my portfolio that I can then hand out and be like, here's some stuff I worked on. There's my info on the back.
I love it.
That's my next project that I have in mind, so. Yes.
This is dorky, but something I thought was kind of cool. Can you go to the previous slide?
Yes.
That top left, the dig a little deeper.
Mhm.
I made that for the magazine,
What?
and that's just that it came together in this.
That's really cool. Yeah, I stole some of your, not stole, I took some of your magazines and I cut them up.
That's
but
so awesome.
That's really cool. Yes.
I have a couple questions. So
Mhm.
I'm intrigued by all of this quite a lot. And I see this as kind of like, I hope you take this as a compliment, kind of like underground guerrilla communication,
100%.
right?
Yes.
And so your name is on the back of this one. I'm curious, like, if I want more, if your audience members want more, how do they find more? QR code, digital, social media, is it only analog, or is this a stepping stone to another platform where you can communicate with your audience?
Great question. So at the moment, all of my zines are analog. I'll print them out, I'll give them to my friends who I know like zines, like, oh, here you go, and they're happy with it. At the moment, when I put my name on the back, you know, it's a pretty unique name. So when you Google it, you're gonna find like my Instagram, where you're just gonna see like my other artworks. And I suppose if someone was ever like, oh, I found one of your zines, do you have more? They could just send me a message. But yeah, as of the moment, all of my zines right now are analog, so.
Have you thought about shifting an entire social media platform that's just this?
I'm thinking about it now. Now that there's such an interest in it, definitely.
There was a recent show I just watched, and it was about an artist who got his start as a graffiti artist. His name is Instagram handle is Mr. Flower Fantastic. I don't know if anybody's seen this person, but he got really famous on social media doing, his medium was flowers, making art with flowers. New York artist, and he got famous on Instagram by doing floral compositions of emojis through his Instagram account. He's got millions of followers now, and he's been doing some really cool public installations. Obviously, the medium of flowers in person and olfactory and sensory and being there and experiencing it is one thing, but he gained a lot of notoriety and traction, and obviously a lot more followers through social media. So that's why I asked the question of this analog medium, which is really cool, could attract an entire audience digitally that then ironically might push them back to the analog.
Definitely. I think that social media is an absolutely excellent way to have good reach and find an audience. I don't create these for an audience. I don't create these to achieve fame or notoriety. I create them because I feel driven to, and then I want to share them with others and maybe inspire them to do the same. And if having a social media account about zines could inspire others to create zines, I think that'd also be fantastic.
So I have a question about just this format.
Yes.
Is it by definition always 8.5 by 11?
Absolutely not. You can use any size paper. It might get a little tricky when you want to reproduce it. You'd have to find a printer that can print whatever size paper you have. It's just that 8.5 by 11 is the most common you're gonna find.
Yeah. Have you thought about other base papers?
Definitely. I've created zines that have been on bigger papers before, you know, 11 by 17, or just a random torn out sketchbook page that I fold up, and who knows what size that even is, things like that.
You could do super limited edition.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I've seen people make zines using a folded up index card, so super tiny. Yes.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yes.
This is kind of a random question, but like, have you ever left any of your zines at the little free libraries that are around town?
I've not. That's an excellent idea. I've usually been on the hunt for like billboards, like the billboard at the Grind or at the library, things like that is where I usually have left them. All right, thank you so much, everyone. One last question?
Yeah, one last one. Does SUU have a billboard where you can like find travel partners or hang up your zines or anything like that?
So most of the billboards at school have to have permission before you hang something up, like posters and things. So I try to adhere to those rules, but there are other places, like maybe in classrooms, where there might be a billboard I can use. Thank you.